Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and gentlemen, as always, thanks for your service. Pete, I mentioned to you before the hearing, I don't know whether this may be your last hearing or not, but I hope we have an opportunity to brag on you even more, but I just can't overstate the value of the service that you have rendered to your country during your years in Congress as well as at the Pentagon. And you and I were good friends in our House days, and I've always admired and respected you, but never more so than now, because you have made great sacrifices. Your family has made great sacrifices to serve your country, and we thank you for that.
Thank you, Senator.
Gentlemen, as I understand it, you have come to an agreement with the Air Force concerning the Joint Cargo Aircraft Program to reduce the overall quantity of aircraft from 78 to 38. This decision also makes it a single service mission as opposed to a joint program. As I understand it, there is still a strong need for an aircraft that can close that last tactical mile, so I'm concerned about this decision. As I understand it, the Sherpa is an aging aircraft that lacks the capabilities required to operate in Afghanistan. And additionally, we're still utilizing private contractors in Afghanistan to fly our troops from forward operating base to forward operating base. These facts seem to be at odds with the decision, and I wonder if you can explain what led to this decision and how the Army will be supported by this new course of action with respect to this decrease in numbers.
Let me speak to the numbers and then Chief talk to the roles and missions issue. When the Secretary made the decision to go to 38 aircraft and joint cargo aircraft, he explained that what he was attempting to do there is replace the Sherpas. And he has told us since then that the number, the right number is somewhere, or he's open to consider whether the right number is somewhere between 38 and 78. And he wants to look, have the Air Force look at the proper mix of C-130s and joint cargo aircraft going forward, and see if there's a way to better utilize the inventory of C-130s in this mission, recognizing that there will be parts of this mission, subsets of this mission, that the C-130 can't meet because of their ability to access certain runways. So the number, it's 38 at this point, but the Secretary has left open the door to reconsider that issue after we've done a better job of looking at the potential contribution of the C-130 to that mission. As far as the roles and mission, I'd ask the Chief to speak to that.
Senator, I've been working with the last two Chiefs of Staff of the Air Force, and basically what I've told them is it's not my core competency to fly fixed-wing cargo aircraft. I needed the capability. I needed the last tactical mile that you talked about in your opening statement. And so I said, when you're ready to take this program, it makes more sense for the Air Force to have this than it does for the Army. And General Schwartz and I reached an agreement in principle a couple of months ago. And so we agreed to go forward. Now, we have not worked out the modalities of how that will happen. And we have a team that involves Craig McKinley, the director of the Guard Bureau, that they're helping us work through the details of this. We've been directed in the budget to have a report back to the department by the end of this month, and we'll do that.
Well, I'm told Army aviation assets are being used at about 5 times their peacetime operational tempo, and that we've flown nearly 3 million flight hours since the beginning of OIF and OEF, and we've done that by putting a lot of pressure on our rotary wing assets, particularly the CH-47. That's very expensive and probably not nearly as efficient as that joint cargo aircraft would be. So as you go through this, we look forward to working with both you as well as the SecDef on that particular issue. Secretary, again, you talked about the issue of suicide in your opening statement, and this is rightfully so number one issue on the minds of folks in your position and others. Are you seeing any common thread for causal relationship between the rise in suicides in the Army today?
We're looking for patterns that in the suicide, the increase in numbers of suicides. What we're finding as far as the immediately contributing factors to the decision to commit suicide The factors that lead to that tend to be the same factors you see outside of the military. It's the number one factor is a shattered personal relationship, loss of spouse, loss of loved one, divorce. Then the second is some type of workplace humiliation, disappointment, serious financial problem, and then you have the occasional other a medical problem. But by and large, the precipitating event, we find that it's the same inside the military as outside the military. We've seen the group that commits suicide more than any other. It's younger than 25. It's male. It's white, and the majority use a weapon, a rifle or a pistol. And we're working with the National Institute of Mental Health to see if there are some patterns there that we haven't been able to spot. But I think it's unquestionably true that the stress that the force is under puts relationships under a stress, leads to increased divorce rates. The studies that are produced for the chief and me every month, we look at the divorce rates, we look at other indicators of stress on the family. So we've got families under stress, soldiers under stress. The pressure that everybody in the Army is under is certainly contributes to that stress. We found that as far as the deployment history, about 1/3 of the people that commit suicide have never deployed, 1/3 commit suicide during a deployment, and then 1/3 commit suicide who are back from a deployment. We found that the soldiers who've deployed more often, the suicide rate actually goes down. It appears that they develop resiliency, and it's the multiple deployments that some might suspect aren't a direct contributor to a higher incident of suicide. We're also looking at all the different waiver categories to see if there's any sort of trends or patterns there. But General Corelli is leading this effort. We're looking across the many different people in our Army that are part of the suicide prevention efforts, chaplains, it's mental health providers, it's psychiatrists, as well as the individual soldiers and the small group leaders. Our big focus on suicide prevention is to try to take it down to the grassroots. And we're undertaking a chain teach. We had a stand down in February and March, and we're doing a chain teach over the course of the summer. And we're giving literally every single soldier in the Army has to participate. It's required. Has to participate in this suicide prevention training. So, but your first question, yes, there are patterns there, but there's no patterns that we've seen that have led through any breakthrough. We're hopeful that this partnership with NIMH will allow us to see some patterns there and discover something about suicide prevention that has escaped us so far.
Well, I know both of you are going to continue to work hard on this issue. As you know, we've developed a great working relationship on other issues, other healthcare issues in Augusta, at Fort Gordon, with Eisenhower, the VA, and the Medical College of Georgia. This may be another way that you can use that model to try to incorporate some private sector physicians in helping us deal with this issue too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.